Check it out, Hebrews. You know, YAH army. Will YAH army rise from captivity? You know, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. And, we're trying to keep this little history consistent and rolling because there's still a lot of information that's, got to be, told, from the Israelite Brotherhood. But will YAH army rise from captivity? I got a video that I just recently did showing how Almighty YAH army was tricked into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. See, the real history, man, about the Israelites ain't been told to now. The Israelite Brotherhood gonna basically be the only organization that's showing real Israelite history and how the other Israelite organizations don't even have a clue of what's going on. So you blessed if you stumbled across this history and this information that the Israelite Brotherhood is showing to the Israelite community, because we know that the enemies are hindering them videos and so forth, but what can you expect, that they ain't gonna want the truth to get out. And especially about this, they try to keep the Israelites' mind messed up. I'm talking about, man, you got Israelites, man, participating in this Canaanite Amorite culture, man, that, they don't have a clue to that it's another way of living, and we think that the wickedness that we are stuck in now is just the way of life and the way that it's supposed to be. You see, that's what the Canaanite culture, tried to project, because the Canaanite culture is in a line with the fallen angelic beings. I already showed how the Amorite are connected with the Nephilims, and the Nephilims are the Cain and the fallen angelic beings, children, and so forth. I got videos explaining that, but the Canaanite culture wants you to think that the wickedness that exists in the culture that exists now is righteous and just, and this is the way that it's supposed to be. But I'm here to tell you that this Canaanite culture escaped destruction when the Israelite army was tricked out of the mission that it was supposed to complete it upon exiting Egypt. Like I showed in plenty of videos, how Almighty Yah was really destroying Egypt on the slick, as well as us having direct confrontation with the Canaanite culture. We would have destroyed Egypt by just being in the promised land, doing the law, doing Almighty Yah law. And if you examine Tanakh history, if you look at Tanakh history and you examine the laws that Almighty Yah gave us, and we know that it was in opposition to the Egyptian and Canaanite culture, because it states so. Almighty Yah told us not to follow the ways of the Canaanite or the Egyptians. Man, if you go to Leviticus, that'd be Leviticus 18. So it was very important, if Almighty Yah didn't want us to do the Canaanite and the Egyptian culture. And I'm going to explain why. And we living in this horror now. It's no tribal unity, man, and a tribal people can be destroyed. A ethnic group can be destroyed in an Amorite structured culture that we exist in now. That's like, how the Israelites being tricked into thinking that Biden and the Harris lady is beneficial to the Israelite community. And, man, we know that that's far from the truth, because now, we finna be fighting for our life over the resources, the limited resources that's in our community now, because a whole floodgate of immigrants finna come in, and we know that our enemies gonna side with the immigrants over us and would secretly like to see the Israelites be destroyed economically in this Canaanite culture that we in. So now, when your job disappears, you've been voting for the Democrats and so forth. So now when your job is gone to an immigrant or a foreigner, and then you sitting around wondering how you gonna pay your bills now because this suddenly happened to you, then you remember that how happy you was when the cunning slave owner got in. Now we know the real brutal slave owner. We know his plan, and we can see him. If he would have stayed in office, we see his plan and what he up to. You know what I'm saying? We know he brutal. We could put our defense up. But with this other devil slave owner that then got into the leadership of the American government. He real slick and sly, and the slaves trust him. And it's like the slaves that trusted the plantation owner was always let down and destroyed. Always let down and destroyed. And then the slave owner would love a pacified, happy slave. And that's what you finna have now while we are secretly and silently being destroyed with a whole flood gate of immigrants. Then the country resources is finna be limited. Ah, man, you Israelites don't know that you finna be destroyed because of this. Because you're so happy for the slick and sly slave owner. All right, but Almighty Yah would had allowed us Israelites to destroy the system that exists today, the capitalistic system that's destroying the earth, that's robbing the whole earth of its resources, and man just consuming the whole earth. Well, that Canaanite culture and the Egyptian culture fostered that type of living and that type of mentality, and that's why the Creator told us, don't do the way of the Egyptians in the Canaanite culture. Look, in the Elohim, this is Leviticus 18. And the Elohim spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Elohim your Yah. And after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, where I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinance. In their ordinance is their law and their culture. Now we know we just come from Egypt, so we was influenced by the Egyptian culture, but Almighty Yah was finna put an end to that when he gave us the law that Moses, gave us. And that law was just. Remember, we had a jubilee. If your brother got in debt and happened to lose his property to you, how you was, uh, uh, how he was guaranteed to get it back, and how we didn't tax each other to live on our land. You know what I'm saying? And how that we didn't have our resources under the control, you know what I'm saying, of other individuals, and how in the community that we lived in the promised land, everybody shared the resources, and we even had to leave fruit on the trees for the homeless and even for the birds and so forth, and how everything is based upon sale and gain here. And with that sale and gain type of mentality is where the wickedness lay, the robbing, the killing, the stealing, and the murdering and so forth, and that's what, what I'm saying, Almighty Yah didn't want us, what I'm saying, to be like that. So, and Almighty Yah wanted to liberate the earth. He was liberating the earth from the Canaanite culture when he gave us the law, that Moses come with. It was to extinguish the Egyptian and the Canaanite culture, because like I said, if we right in the middle, right here, doing the law, and then we got Almighty Yah on our side, and we know Almighty Yah didn't leave us till we broke the covenant during the Babylonian Wars. But if we would have did the law, followed the law, and held this little strip of land down, that was stopping the Egyptians from connecting with the Mesopotamians and that Canaanite culture. That's like the Egyptians worship the bull, Hathor, the golden calf, a fertility god, as well as the Canaanites. Canaan did, and we were stuck on both of them. But we mostly follow the Egyptian religion basically at 100% after after the death of after King David passed away, and then Solomon come on, and then Solomon, embraced the Egyptian Mishwish tribes, the Libyan pharaohs who we went into Africa to be with, during the Babylonian Wars, and how that, Jeroboam come out of Egypt with two Egyptian institutions, and we was already, had, that Baal worship from the Canaanite gods that went from Mesopotamia all the way to the Egypt, to the Nile. So we was caught in between men of rock, the fire, in the I'm in a rock and hard place. We was from the from the fire and pan straight into the fire. It is how it was with us dealing with the Egyptian and the Canaanite culture, and how we couldn't resist neither. And it was the Egyptian culture that eventually destroyed us. And we was already associated with the Egyptian culture from sojourning in Egypt a long time. But I could show how our fathers, that's like YAH army got the rise, and how our father Abraham, Jacob, and Joseph were examples, and how that they sojourned in Egypt and didn't worship the Egyptian gods or hold the Egyptian idols in honor in any kind of way. From our father Abraham, and then Joseph, and then our father Israel, Jacob eventually went to Egypt, and how he didn't worship the Egyptian gods. Now you got prophets of Almighty Yah in Egypt, where the Egyptian gods was, dealing with the pharaohs, the leaders of the Egyptian peoples and so forth, and how that our forefathers stood strong and didn't worship the Egyptian culture or his gods and so forth. And that's what Almighty Yah chose Abraham, Prophet Abraham, for, because he know that he could produce a strong land of believers. You know what I'm saying? And we can be, believers and worship Almighty Yah when we put our heart to it, as been demonstrated in Tanakh history. But, I showed it, man, we got messed up, and we got messed up bad, and our enemies messed us up, hoping and praying for their evil culture to survive and eventually extinct the earth population, the death culture. It's like, when the fallen angelic beings was confined here to the earth, and then they made it with the with Cain kids, and then produced the Hittites and a whole bunch of other wicked tribes, and how that they had the death culture. The death culture is the Amorite culture, which is the culture that we exist in now. You won't have your soul, your soul is gone. And it's like a person soul, man, your soul is connected. What distinguish us from animals? What distinguish us from animals is the soul that Almighty Yah gave us, the rationality and the thinking ability, our intellectual ability to think and rationalize. You don't see no tiger chopping down wood or praying to Almighty Yah, or you don't see no animals praying to Almighty Yah. But that the Canaanite culture want to reduce the whole earth and its peoples to animals, and especially the Israelites. Man, we are being attacked by the fallen angelic beings culture that is expressed through the Amorite Canaanite culture that we didn't destroy, that we are in captivity to now. That culture is designed to attack the Israelite more than anybody. Because the Israelites hold the key to liberating the earth, the whole earth, and Almighty Yah know all the tribes on the planet. So, all the tribes and peoples on the planet, and how that they supposed to come worship Almighty Yah. It's like I was reading, how they got India as the spiritual capital of the world. Now, we know that the fallen angelic beings and all those folks from Mesopotamia, and that they mostly hung, you know what I'm saying, in Asia and so forth, in these parts. But how did the fallen angelic beings history in India, and I got videos showing how the Babylonian scribes went to Bactria long time ago, and then created Zoroastrianism, and then Brahmanism and Hinduism. All that come off of the fallen angelic beings, scribes, the Sephardims that had went to Afghanistan, Bactria, and then from Bactria, Zoroastrianism, spread, down into India, and then, all those other religions that come off, Zoroastrianism and Brahmanism and Hinduism and so forth, and how they all went to, different parts, but how all those, religions, men go back to them fallen angelic beings, and how Almighty Yah didn't prescribe that for the earth, and that how Almighty Yah history and law was expressed through the Israelites, who he made a covenant with that would extinguish all those other religions. See, those religions basically come about after the covenant was broke. Those religions come about in 500 and 600 BC, whereas us Israelites had a covenant going all the way back to 1400 BC, and then how that the peoples before we had our covenant worship idols and so forth. And I showed that Almighty Yah had a covenant with the peoples, you know what I'm saying, before we Israelites had a covenant, and how he tried to save the Amorite and the Hittite that was, part of the fallen angelic beings' children through Cain. They lived underground in Turkey and so forth, in them cities and caves in Turkey. So I'm going to get into all that. But what I want to show Israelites is that how Almighty Yah army was tricked into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, and I explained it, but what I need to explain to you Israelites is, will Yah army rise from captivity? Because it looked bad on us, man. It looked bad, man. If you look at the Israelite community and how we function, and how we ain't come together, that's like the Israelite Brotherhood want to consolidate all the Israelite groups, man, into one, and then get all the believers in Yah out of them, and then let the Demi-god worship perish, with the enemies, and how we make us a exodus to the promised land, because it's a prophecy that we have to return to the promised land. All right, will Yah army rise from captivity? The army of Yah must rise, but not with demigod worship. And the demigod worship basically it is a knockoff of the IS horse religion. How enemies are wise and just basically want to keep the culture and the religion that destroyed us, because remember now, we Almighty Yah army. This army was sent out from Egypt to destroy the Canaanite culture. Now, Western civilization, man, today is basically Canaanite culture. You know, Western civilization was set up by the Amorites and specifically the Sephardims. I explain this in countless videos. You know, it's no escaping the Israelite Brotherhood. You know, but how did the Amorite culture, you know what I'm saying, was set up, and man, it was set up to destroy the earth, and how we Israelites were given the covenant to destroy it. So, you know, man, our enemy's not gonna want to tell the truth about Israelite history. They not gonna want to tell the truth about nothing dealing with Tanakh history or the Israelites, because you know the Israelites is an army that sleep. And they don't want to wake the sleeping giant, because if the sleeping giant is woke, then man, it brings they culture in the things, the schisms and the things that they've been doing to an end. So you know it's been important that you know the enemies of Yah been you know trying to keep us you know distracted and bring us down to the level of an animal, because like I say, animals don't have no soul. An animal ain't gonna worship Almighty Yah. That's why when you see on those commercials, you see that lizard walking around talking, or you see that lion, that tiger on the cereal talking to the kids, and you have all kind of animal animated objects directed to the peoples and stuff, because you know man, they trying to transform the peoples into some animals, some beasts, because the peoples that we were to destroy were classified as beasts in the Tanakh history. You see, the people that we abandoned our heritage to, man, and got a hold to our heritage and translated and try to translate the truth away that expose who they originally are, you know. But if you, you know, believe in Almighty Yah and Almighty Yah, you know, working through you, then, you know, man, you're going to be able to see this and explain this as I have been for the Israelite Brotherhood. And like I say, man, this is the only history in the Israelite community that's showing what happened to us in dealing with real, truthful facts, you know, that you can see, and that how we not doing no Jewish myths. All right, man, that Canaanite culture don't want us, the Western civilization don't want Yah army to rise from captivity, because if Yah army rise from captivity, then it's the end of the things, the wicked things that we know today that our enemies profit off of. You know, they profit off prostitution. You know, they profit off the killing, the stealing, and the robbing and so forth. You know, that's like gas in the Amorite culture tank. You know, they cultures the car and the robbing and stealing and killing. Man, that's the gas for them, and they keep their car going and so forth. And their car been going for a long time, because Yah army was tricked. You know, Yah army was tricked, and we was enslaved as punishment. So when we wake up, and our enemies know this, you know, that's why come they been real stupid, man, to just put their hand here real heavy down on us, because out of this heaviness, you know, we're going to, you know, get strength, you know, to get the weight up off of us. You know, they coach, and it how that they need us to be blind and not be woke to our Israelite heritage, because they whole livelihood depend on the Israelite army not waking up. And then, like I show, that Yah army was tricked into Egypt during the Babylonian Wars. You know, the Assyrians took some of our fighters. Everybody was at us. Everybody was at us to keep us from doing the covenant, just like now. You know, and that's like, you know, man, they done got us so messed up mentally here in Americas, because when they brung us, captured us in Africa after we ran into Africa during the Babylonian Wars, and we lingered into Africa till the transatlantic slave trade started. And then when they brung us over here to the Americas, and then, after enslaving us and we being cut off, from any truth, and don't have no power to form a educational system of our own. Well, we almost had it, and we was close to it, man, before the civil rights, because the civil rights stripped us of everything when they sent the milkman Martin Luther King in, with all that hooping and hollering stuff, and then robbed us, man, of our resources and so forth, and turned them over to our enemies. And then how that we are integrated into their educational system. See, during the civil rights, if we would have stayed separated, we'd have, men, had our own history, and we could have told our own truth of what happened to us, as most ethnic groups do in their communities. That's like the Chinese gonna basically have an educational system independent from the United States educational system, cultural centers where they people can learn, and stay connected, man, with their culture. And as well as the Hispanics and all the other folks, you know what I'm saying? Even the Europeans, the Jews, all of them got cultural centers and headquarters where they people can go and still stay connected, man, to their ancient culture. Whereas us Israelites that was kidnapped from Africa and brought here to the Americas, man, they integrate us into their cultural system, the Amorite cultural system, that don't want us to have our true identity, because we YAH army, and that's why we was given Negroes, blacks, African Americans, and they created histories associated with them names, and man, the list just go on. But how that the enemy's whole purpose back then was to put about 10 layers or 10 layers of names, 5 layers of names in history on us. Man, 5 layers of names in history, man. You got colored, man. You got all your history written in colored, man. It ain't gonna connect you to nothing. Then you got all your history written in Negro. You know what I'm saying? That's another layer. Man, you lost. You can't find nothing that connects you to nothing ancient with Negro. And then it go to black, African American, and so forth, and how enemies put layers of identity losses on us and so forth. And all that was to reduce us to an animal level, because if somebody constantly dictating who you are and what your culture is and what's acceptable, then they can slowly ease you into a animalistic type of mentality. And that's what's been happening now. You see Israelites, man, that they men accept everything, whereas once upon a time homosexuality was looked down upon in our community. That was a sign of weakness for a man to be, and turn feminized, especially in the suppressive system, knowing that we've been kidnapped, and how we supposed to stand up and be males and be strong and stay strong, so our seed can stay strong, and then eventually overcome this, captivity. But how did the Israelite males, a whole bunch of them, succumb to the Amorite culture of feminization? And I got a video explaining how Benjamin lingered and was among the Amorite tribes, and how that they almost wiped the tribe of Benjamin out, feminized them. All right, Hebrews, the enemy do not want YAH army to rise from captivity, because if YAH army rise from captivity, then that's the end of their rule. You see, that's the end of their rule. The army of YAH must rise, but not with demigod worship. So, that's why come they, love them Israelites and let them be on the corners hooping and hollering, because if you examine the doctrine of the Israelite organizations that's out in the public speaking on the corners and so forth, they worship Demi-god. They believe in the New Testament history, and they believe in demigods, God's sons and so forth. And man, the enemies know that we can't never be YAH army believing in demigods. They know this. Man, we've been dealing with some crafty peoples, man, that's been crafted for thousands of years. Man, I'm talking about they was crafted thousands of years before we was even the Israelite nation and people, and how did they heritage, the Sephardims, the Sephardi's heritage go all the way back to Samaria. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of shown that the Scythians hung around ancient Samaria too, Ashkenazi, but how the Sephardims, the Hittites, and all those peoples destroyed ancient Samaria in the Akkadian Empire that was in Mesopotamia, southern Mesopotamia, and so forth, and how did those folks, man, destroyed them nations, and then infiltrated them, took them over, and then being from Sipper, from Babylon, where the fallen angelic beings that taught them everything of how to govern peoples, all different ethnic groups under one law, because, they had one law and one plan when they was collaborating to build the tower that was supposed to reach up into heavens before Almighty Yah dispersed them. It's going to be the fallen angelic beings, men associated with them folks that build the tower and so forth. They build that tower. And then how that, Almighty Yah was against that. He was against that tower being built, and how them folks, try to come together and form, what I'm saying, some wickedness, being one, and how Almighty Yah didn't want the peoples as one, and man, this is kind of explained in the Tanakh history, man, when you look at how how just before Prophet Abraham come on, and then how that, Babel was built and the whole earth was of one language. See, that's why they come with that want that one world government, and the same people who want the one world government and one world everything, one world economic system is going to be the peoples that's descended from the Nephilims, the Amorites, even though the Ashkenazi caught up real deeply in it too, and then took over the Sephardi Babylonian way and trying to keep its agenda going and so forth, which was prophesied by Prophet Noah. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? And this right here, Genesis 9, verse 27. Yah shall enlarge Japhet, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Canaan sure enough the servant of Japhet, meaning that Ashkenazi took over the Sephardi way and become servants to Ashkenazis. And the Sephardi's, the Sephardians ain't nothing but Canaanites. Those are Canaanites right there, and how that they are held in subjection, meant to Ashkenazi, and Ashkenazi took the culture, and the and live in the Shem's house, the Israelites' heritage, and Prophet Noah was right on time when he said that. Look, all right, let's find it again. And Yah shall enlarge Japhet, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. He sure enough enlarged Japhet, because Japhet descendants, man, basically control over half the earth. Over half the earth, and they start basically came about when Ashkenazi under the name Scythians settled in the promised land during the Babylonian wars, when Almighty Yah army was tricked into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. I'm gonna go into that. I keep getting close to getting down deep into it. All right, but Yah shall enlarge Japhet, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. That means have the Israelite heritage. and Canaan shall be his servants. That's the Sephardims. The Sephardi Jews are servants to Ashkenazi right now, today in the promised land, and how the Sephardi have to follow the Ashkenazi lead, and how the Ashkenazi then took over the whole Israelite heritage. I even got some papers stating this. Let's find them papers. Here it is, right here. Look. They'll tell you. So Almighty Yah prophets is on time. You ain't a prophet, man, unless the history come true. And Prophet Noah, history been coming true for thousands of years since the time he spoke. And look, the Sephardic ideal has always been understood in terms of political moderation and community unity. Rarely did Sephardim lose their internal cohesion, that is, until the process of cultural erosion set in. Following the Ashkenazi lead, Sephardim abandoned their traditional culture and adapted to the fractious Ashkenazi model. They ain't have no choice. I show in history how the Catholic Church and Islam and them was created for proxy wars between these two groups. You know, I got videos explaining all that. Look, the Sephardi particularly, let me see, under following the Ashkenazi lead, Sephardim abandoned their traditional culture and adapted to the fractious Ashkenazi model. They was forced to. Under the rubric of a single Jewish nation, the Sephardi particularity with its culture genius and its sophisticated social morals has become a lost value. The Ashkenazi culture with its deeply unsettled relationship to the larger world has now become the Jewish standard. So what Prophet Noah said long time ago come to pass. Come to pass. All right. How about those fallen angelic beings that's kin to those Sephardims, the Amorites, the Nephilims, got into the Canaanite tribes, and the Amorites are the chief of them. And then how that they all trying to push that one world government. So then if they got a one world government plan, then they ain't gonna be wanting Almighty Yah army to rise from captivity. They ain't gonna want the army to rise from captivity, but they can't stop it. They can't stop it because it's prophesied just like it was prophesied about Japhet descendants taking over Shem's heritage, which happened during the Babylonian Wars. All right? And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, and it come to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there, and they said one to another, go and let us make brick and such, and they go to let us build up a city and tower whose top may reach up into heaven. But we know that's what them skyscrapers and the same peoples who build and control Western civilization and is at the apex. The top of it is the same peoples that's connected to the fallen angelic beings and the peoples that wanted to build a tower and so forth back then. But how Almighty Yah, scattered them and so forth, and then how that the Israelite covenant was supposed to destroy that culture. It was supposed to destroy that Canaanite culture that come from the fallen angelic beings and so forth, and then how that that's gonna be a main reason why they don't want Yah army to rise from captivity. They know that our punishment was just for a certain amount of time and we need to be punished forever, but how that we can basically prolong our captivity by not coming into an Israelite heritage. If we don't come into an Israelite heritage, then man, the enemies get to keep the Western death culture going. All right, Hebrews, Almighty Yah army was tricked into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. I'm going to read that. But how before then, we had a job in the mission to destroy the Canaanite Amorite culture, which causes, uh, uh, which causes wickedness, and it's outlined in Leviticus and Tanakh history. That's like, the Egyptians, man, they was big on kinfolk sleeping with kinfolks, you know what I'm saying? And man, all kind of wickedness, and how the Canaanite culture was wicked, man, unbelievably wicked, you know what I'm saying? But how Almighty Yah didn't want us to do their culture, and that's why come we was given the laws that we was given, which is different from the Canaanite culture, and how Almighty Yah laws was just because it cared about the widow, the poor, the homeless. We ain't have no homeless and no uh, uh, things like that, because everybody had land and had something to eat, and how we was supposed to share and worship Almighty Yah and be one people. You know what I'm saying? And how our enemies didn't want that, because they want wickedness and evilness to reign. And if it's another culture that's in opposition to theirs that's righteous, then they gonna attack it. They gonna attack it and try to destroy it. But we had Almighty Yah on our side, and how that our enemies had to trick us, and we was tricked. So it's important that Almighty Yah army understand this. This the only way we can rise is with truth. All right, so look, this I'm gonna explain it again. How Almighty Yah didn't want us to do the Canaanite Amorite culture and the Egyptian culture. And the Elohim spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Elohim your Yah. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring ye, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinance. Ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinance, to walk therein. I am the Elohim your Yah. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Elohim. See, you're gonna be able to live in the Almighty Yah culture, but the Canaanite culture that we exist in today for profit and selling, man, it break all the natural things down to to nothing. You know what I'm saying? It take everything, the capitalistic culture that we exist in today, take everything that's natural and break it down to nothing, just to acquire just to acquire idols. The people are educated to acquire idols and worship idol worship. And then you got the capitalistic culture that's stripping the earth. Oh man, that's a death culture. And so you can't live in that. You can't live in that too long. And that's why they want to planet hop. Get off this planet and get somewhere else. But that ain't what's in the Tanakh. All right. Ye shall do my judgment and keep my ordinance, to walk therein. I am the Elohim your Yah. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments. If a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Elohim. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Elohim the nakedness of thy father, the nakedness of thy mother shall thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness, her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness, the nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or the daughter of thy mother, whether she is born at home or born abroad. Even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of the son's daughters. See it go on and on and on, man, and tell you, you know what I'm saying? Don't be doing that old evil, wicked stuff. And then the most abominable, man, abortion, man, it's the abortion. Almighty Yah was strictly against putting the kids in the fire. And that's what the Canaanite culture produce, because if you're selling something, if it's based upon selling and acquiring wealth like that, and not giving and having compassion, then man, it's gonna create prostitutions, and then the prostitutes gonna be having babies that they didn't mean to have, because they just trying to get some money and stuff, meant to live and buy idols with it, and then they done throw the baby in the fire. You know, Almighty Yah was against that. And then how our enemies used the Hebrew abortions to gain body parts and melanin. You know, they say, man, an ounce of melanin is worth more than gold. So many, got a steady supply of Israelite babies being given to them, our enemies, is because of the culture that we exist in. This horrible culture, no righteousness, no compassion, no caring, and then our enemies got all the wealth. Oh man, it's horrible, and how we live in the curses. Exactly. All right, so then if you read, how Almighty Yah was against all the stuff, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Thou shalt not defile yourselves and all these things, sleeping with the animals. And look, and the land is defiled. Look, defile not yourselves in any of these things, for all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. You see, it was all this old evil, wicked stuff that the Canaanites and the Egyptians and so forth was doing, and then they was giving praise to the fallen angelic beings. The Egyptians in the Canaanite culture. Look, and the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomit out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of you of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all of these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled, that the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. So whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Yeah, your soul is cut off because your soul is your thinking ability, your rationality, what separates you from an animal and stuff. But if you start doing the Canaanite and the Egyptian culture and how you supposed to eventually turn into animals, that's like they got them animal heads, men on humans and stuff. Man, they got humans. Look, humans with half animals and so forth. You know what I'm saying? In the Egyptian culture, full of this, and that's what they wanna, reduce the people into half animals. Put you on an animal thinking level and so forth. And then how I'm gonna show that we Israelites got messed up real bad by the Egyptians. After the golden calf. This they tricked the Israelite army into do this, and then the culture of the Egyptian is emerged into American culture. It's a Babylonian and Egyptian culture. America, short for Amorite. Look, Hathor, Hathor is an Hathor is an ancient Egyptian goddess associated later with Is and earlier with Samson, but eventually was considered the primordial goddess from whom all others was derived. She is usually depicted as a woman with the head of a cow, ears and a cow and symptom. All right, Hathor, the golden calf, man, is what we broke covenant going to do. Hathor was a major goddess in ancient Egyptian religion, played in a wide variety of roles. As a sky deity, she was the mother and consort of the sky god Horus. All right, that's gonna be the golden calf. That's the golden calf. What I'm saying? But me how consort is Ra, Horus, Atum, Amun. All those the main Egyptian gods that we broke covenant to affiliate with. We was already messed up with the Egyptian culture exiting Egypt. you know, I show in the videos how, you know, after Prophet Moses went up, man, and got the law and come back, we was doing the Egyptian culture, you know, and how our enemies will want you to think that when the Israelites did messing with the golden calves and bulls, that it was just Baal and associated with the Canaanite culture. No, it was both of them. It was the Egyptian and the Canaanite culture. But the Egyptian culture is what doomed us, you know, and it took the whole Israelite army out, and it also destroyed King David promise, you know, King David to have a descendant on the throne if the covenant wasn't broken and we wasn't kicked out the land, how King David to have a king on the throne forever. Well, the Egyptians destroyed that. Man, I got a video explaining that. All right, let's go to the book of Jeremiah. Real important, the book of Jeremiah, because this shows you how YAH army was tricked into Africa, and then we know that if YAH army is tricked off the promised land, then the promised land is vacant of defenders, and then that's when everybody set up. You see how the promised land, Jerusalem, supposed to be the spiritual capital of the world, because that's where Yah put his name, and not in India. You know, the spiritual capital of the world means supposed to be the promised land, Jerusalem, where Almighty Yah put his name, you know, and not over here in India. You know, and how did them folks, you know, got their religion from the fallen angelic beings. But if you go to Jeremiah chapter 42, basically, you know, and I'm gonna bring everybody up to par, you know. I can start from Exodus. All right, well, we Exodus Egypt. We got started to come into the promised land under Joshua. We got messed up. We didn't extinguish the Canaanite tribes. The Ammonite, Gabonites tricked us, and they would get lost in our temples and religious place of worship. You know, we made them servants there, and that was the worst thing we ever did. And then how did Solomon, King David, kind of like, you know, got back control, you know what I'm saying, of the mission that Almighty Yah put us on, with getting rid of the enemies and setting up his worship in the middle of the Canaanite and Egyptian worship. And then how King David, you know, held it down, and then how his son Solomon come on, and then how the Egyptians tricked Solomon by giving Solomon, you know, Pharaoh's daughter. Now Pharaoh real slick, and then Solomon would succumb to the enemy's culture and religion, and then during that time, you know, Solomon chased this brother named Jeroboam into Egypt, you know, to his relatives. You know, Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim, and then he was chased there, and then been up on Solomon's death, how he come out with 2 golden calves. The same golden calf, after the golden calf, he put 2 of them on us in the northern kingdom, one in Dan and the other one in Bethel. And then how we would stay on that mess all the way to the prophecy of King Josiah to clean it up. And then King Josiah cleaned it up, and then for 31 years. And then we was off Egyptian religion for 31 years. And then after being on it for 300 years, from the death of Solomon all the way down to King Josiah, is gonna be about 300 some years. And then how he cleaned it up, and we was off Egyptian religion for 31 years. And then, you know, the Egyptians killed King Josiah and put us back on Egyptian religion. And then the Israelite army was tricked into Africa, because Almighty Yah sent Ashkenazi, the Babylonians, to come chase us, man, off the promised land. Men to come get us up off the promised land. Man, we had to get up off the promised land because we said we was gonna do Egyptian religion, and then the whole army went into Africa. That's why come, when people say, dang, man, these so-called black people kind of, violent and so forth, and not just violent, but just how that, we aggressive, man. That's because Almighty Yah army went into Africa, and how that we was programmed from the beginning to destroy cultures and civilizations and so forth. That's why come our enemies, real smart, when they brung us over here, surrounded by water, and then got their law system down on us, and then got us brainwashed where we can't make no connection, meant to get no unity to resist, and then come back into our Israelite heritage and be the army we supposed to be. All right, during the Babylonian wars, after King Josiah was killed, and then Almighty Yah sent Ashkenazi men to come chase us up off the land, and this will be fulfilling what Prophet Noah said about how Japhet would live in Shem's house, and how Ashkenazi settled in what's called Scopopolis, ancient Beth Shan. Ancient Beth Shan. Ancient Beth Shan is called Scopopolis. Scopopolis. And then that's where Ashkenazi settled. And then he would be there all the way, man, now. You know what I'm saying? All the way up to now. All right. This is Almighty Yah army being tricked into Africa. And I'm going to show you that Almighty Yah says his army going to rise. All right. The captains of the army, look, man, when we had got tricked into Africa, man, the Babylonians came, they snatched up a few people, and then the rest of us took off and ran into Egypt, because Egypt held his door open, trying to get us. And then because the Assyrians then got destroyed by the Assyrians then got destroyed by Ashkenazi, you know what I'm saying, in 612 BC, man, that they done ran and then whooped the Nubians, and then put the Mishwish Egyptian tribes on, who we was always associated with and who we was kin to through Joseph being given Asenath. Let me show you this. Joseph being given Asenath, so we had a little kindred to the Egyptians, and then how did those Egyptians open their borders and let an army, an Israelite army, into their nation. Now at first, the Egyptians couldn't come across the promised land if we doing the covenant. But how did the Egyptians, killed King Josiah and then tricked us? All right, man, if you go to Genesis 42, and this is a Mishwish. This is a Mishwish Pharaoh right here. They controlled Lower Egypt. And during the Assyrian time, around about 697 or 667 BC, the Assyrians went and took the power from the upper Egyptians that controlled Lower Egypt, the Nubian Hamites, and then ran them out, and then put the Mishwish tribes on, who we would eventually go into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. Look, and Joseph, let me see, this is Genesis 41, verse 45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephaniah-Paneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. See, and Joseph, and unto Joseph were born two sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, born to him. Manasseh and then Ephraim. Now, Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim, and then this is gonna be the the brother that Solomon chased to his relatives that would eventually bring us down, with the golden calf worship. All right, so then if you go to First Kings. That'll be 1 Kings 11, and then you get over here to 26. And Jeroboam the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zerudah, Solomon's servant, whose mother name was Zeruiah, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king. And Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled men to Egypt, men to Shawshank. Shawshank gonna be a mishwish, what they call a Libyan Pharaoh. But this the thing, the borders of Egypt, mean they didn't exist like you got now today. And how Africa got its borders like this because the Israelites, ran into Africa to hide, and then the European nations searched the whole Africa up in what's called the League of Nations and divided Africa up and so forth. But how Egypt borders went way over here, and it has pyramids, baby pyramids that was in the Sahara that we built, that we built under the name Graminti. And I got videos explaining how our first derogatory name was Gramintis, and that's gonna be us mixing in with them mishwish tribes and so forth, that the lower Egyptians that tricked us into Africa, the army that tricked the Israelite army into Africa. All right. So we see that the tribe of Ephraim, Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim, and then Jeroboam brung the 2 golden calves out on us, meaning the 2 Egyptian worship once he left Egypt after Solomon's death. And then he'll put that mess on us, and then that mess will stay on us all the way to King Josiah cleaned it up. See, look, Solomon was wicked. I mean, I got a video explaining how Solomon was wicked. But King Solomon loved many strange women together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, the Zidonians, the Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Elohim said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in to you, for surely they shall turn away your heart after their gods. And that's what happened. See, that's one of the reasons why the Canaanite culture that we are imprisoned in, men today don't want Almighty Yah army to rise, because then we will be the same Israelites in the past combating the same abominations that Almighty Yah told us to destroy in the past. How is he in the present? So they ain't gonna want Almighty Yah army to rise, because then it'll be like slavery was a pause, and now we back on and popping again to destroy the Amorite Canaanite culture, which is connected to the Egyptian culture. All right, so we know that Jeroboam brung the 2 golden. See, Shawshank was his relatives, because the priest of On gave Pharaoh gave the priest of On daughter to Joseph, and he had children by the Egyptians. So they gonna keep close kin and so forth. All right, Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. All right, so then he come out, and then when he come out, meaning Egypt, after Solomon's death, then he put the golden calves on us. The Egyptian worship, that Hathor, Isis, Horus stuff. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said it to them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of Egypt. And he set one in Bethel and the other in Dan. All right, and then as you get down to 1 Kings 13, and behold, there come a man of Yah out of Judah, the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense, and he cried against the altar in the word of the Elohim, and said, "Oh, altar, this said the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burned upon thee." And then that come to pass. And then how the Egyptians would kill King Josiah killed him, and then put us back on Egyptian religion. And then YAH army would go into Africa because we was fighting the Egyptians. I mean, we was fighting the Babylonians, and the Egyptians were helping us, as well as the remainder of the Assyrians. It's called the Satire history, where Egypt, Assyria, and us Israelites tried to unite to fight against Ashkenazi, keeping them from coming into our heritage. But we was on Egyptian worship, so we couldn't, help, and we was eventually, kicked out the land. We was doomed because that. All right, and then if you go to Isaiah, this was prophesied before it even come to pass, man, about the satire history. And I'm gonna show you, man, the satire history, with the Assyrians and the Egyptians coming uniting, and then how it was prophesied, man, before it happened. And this is in 725 BC. This is 3 years before the so-called Assyrian captivity. It was already told that we'll be coming home, men from Assyria and everything, and how we'll be cool with them. That's why I say that the history that our enemies been telling about Israelite history is false. And then how I showed that the three tribes that the Assyrians originally kidnapped, they was used to fight Ashkenazi, the Scythians, and how did the Assyrians was trying to get back control of Babylon, and they did for a little while, but then lost it, and then was eventually destroyed, as the book of Nahum prophesies Assyria, Nineveh's destruction, because when Nineveh, Assyria was bothering us and trying to help Judah fight men against the northern kingdom that was robbing Judah, the Assyrian kings took credit and said that it was their gods that made them do that and gave them the power. So they was set for destruction. And then it came about in 612 BC. And then I even got videos showing you how it was prophesied that Assyria would be destroyed, and by who and everything. And we know that prophet Nahum prophesies the horse and bow people, which is skimpy. Whenever it's mentioned the horse, men, and bow people, and arrows and so forth, man, it's gonna be talking about those folks right there, Ashkenazi, the Scythians. And these are the arrows that they use to shoot the promised land up. And then the book of Nahum tell you in detail, and it was written just before Assyria was destroyed. Because remember, Assyria was helping Judah, trying to, and then they took credit for what they was doing, but how that they was keeping the northern kingdom from worshiping Almighty Yah. And like I said, Assyria had took three tribes way before. And let me show you this, would show you that the Israelites would know they way home. You know what I'm saying? If you go to First Chronicles chapter 5. All right, First Chronicles chapter 5. First Chronicles chapter 5. And then you get down to 18. The sons of Reuben and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men, able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow, and skillful with war, were 40,703 score that went out to war. All right, so them the ones, that tried to protect the Egyptian worship on the promised land. So Almighty Yah gonna let the Assyrians get them, and they were snatched up into the Assyrian army and went to go fight the Babylonians, the Ashkenazi. And the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tabernazar, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Hala and Harbor and Horror unto the river goes on unto this day. And I show you, man, that's supposed to have took place in 722 BC, and I show that after 722 BC, how the tribes are still home. And look, so then if they went to Assyria in 722 BC, Prophet Isaiah said this right after that. So you know what I'm saying, right before the Assyrian captivity took place, so these Israelites would know they way home. And I'm gonna show you how they come home by the Assyrians going into Egypt to take the power away from the Nubians, and it's called the Satire history. Look, all right, this is Isaiah uh, 19, verse 23. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, and whom the Elohim of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, mine inheritance. All right, if you go look at Hosea, I mean, it makes sense that we would be able to come home from Assyria, and that the tribes that went to Assyria just wasn't magically lost and disappeared, as I show Second Chronicles 30 has a King Hezekiah history, 716 BC, 715 BC, how all the tribes came to the Passover dinner. I might even try to get some of that in real quick. But you see, if you go to Hosea, which was written in this gonna be written in 753 BC, how all the tribe of Ephraim did trade with the with the Assyrians. So it would make sense that they would know how to come home anyway, as Prophet Isaiah prophesies. Look, this Hosea 12. Ephraim feedeth on wind and followed after the east wind. He daily increaseth lies and desolation, and they do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and oil is carried into Egypt. So it's going to be hard to kidnap them and keep them from coming back home. It's why Prophet Isaiah had already said after that. You know, this is after, you know what I'm saying, 753 is before Prophet Isaiah making his prophecy, and then how 20 some years later Prophet Isaiah said that we'll be coming home from Egypt, and it'll be a highway. Let's look at Hosea date so everybody will know, so it won't be no misunderstanding that them Israelites come home. They came home from the Assyrian captivity, because Prophet Isaiah showed that it was a highway from Assyria to Egypt, and I can show in history that the Assyrians took over Egypt, just like Prophet Isaiah said, and ran the Nubians away. Look, 753 BC. See, and then Prophet Isaiah, this is wrote in 725 BC. So you know, man, he said, in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Syrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. Now let's go look in history, because all this would trick the Israelite army into Africa. All right, look, Egypt. All right, let's see something about the satire history. And then the Mishwish. All right, the Mishwish tribes. And then I had something up here about the satire history. I wonder where it go to. Let's see. All right, Assyria. All right, the 26 dynasty. Look, the Assyrian king Esdras, who had conquered Egypt in 671 BC and had expelled the Nubian pharaohs of the 25th dynasty, just like Prophet Isaiah said. Just like Prophet Isaiah said. And guess what? We Israelites was hooked up with, we was with the Assyrians, the Reuben, Gad, them, all them would go into Egypt, Africa, when Assyria was destroyed, as we Israelites went into Africa, you know what I'm saying, when the Babylonians showed up. And it was all, you know what I'm saying, because of this right here. And the Syrians on the run, They done got with the Egyptians. They done hooked up with the lower Egyptians, which would be the Mishwish tribes. These are the tribes that we was associated with right here. These are the tribes that we was associated with, the Mishwish tribes, and then they would trick us with that Egyptian Hathor the golden calf stuff. You know that Hathor the golden calf. They was big on Hathor the golden calf. They control Lower Egypt, and then they put us on that, and then we had to get kicked up off the promised land, and then that'll bring us up to the book of Jeremiah. The Babylonian wars, and this is what was said. This is what was said. It's the Babylonian wars. All right, we're being tricked into Africa. Then all the captains of the forces. Now this is all the captains of the forces, and Johan the son of Ker, and Jazaniah the son of Hoshea, and all the people from the least even unto the greatest came near and said unto Jeremiah the prophet. He done caught up with us. We running into Egypt. Let we beseech thee, our supplication be accepted before thee, and pray for us unto the Elohim thy Yah, even for all this remain. For we are but a few of many, as then eyes do behold us, that the Elohim thy Yah may show us the way wherein we may walk, and the things that we may do. Then Jeremiah the prophet said unto them, I have heard you. Behold, I will pray unto the Elohim your Yah according to your words, and it shall come to pass that whatsoever thing the Elohim shall answer you, I will declare it to you. I will keep nothing back from you. Then they said to Jeremiah, the Elohim be true and faithful witness between us, if we do not according to all the things which the Elohim that Yah sent to thee to us, whether it be good or whether it be evil, we will obey the voice of the Elohim our Yah, to whom we send thee, that it may be well with us when we obey the voice of the Elohim our Yah. And it come to pass after 10 days that the word of the Elohim came unto Jeremiah. Then called Johan the son of Ker, and all the captains of the forces. See, we going into Africa, the captains of the forces, and we never returned out of Africa when the Persians defeated the Babylonians. Look, and Almighty Yah called Cyrus by name 152 years before he was born in prophet Isaiah time. Look, then called he Johan the son of Ker, and all the captains of the forces which were with him, and all the people from the least even unto the greatest, and said unto them, This said the Elohim the Yah of Israel, unto whom you sent me to present your supplications before him. If ye will abide in this land, then I will build you, and not pull you down, and I will plant you, and not pluck you up. For I repent me of the evil that I have done unto you. Be not afraid of the king of Babylon, of whom you are afraid. Be not afraid of him, said the Elohim, for I am with you to save you, and to deliver you from his hand. And I will also show mercy unto you, that he may have mercy upon you, and cause you to return to your own land. But if ye say, we will not dwell in this land, neither obey the voice of the Elohim your Yah, saying, No, but we will go into the land of Egypt, where we shall see no war, nor hear the sound of the trumpet, nor have hunger of bread, and there will we dwell. See, we been warned and fighting the Babylonians and couldn't overcome them because everybody on Egyptian religion. Everybody on Egyptian religion because Necho, the evil, wicked Necho, killed King Josiah. Our last hope to be saved from the Egyptian religion. He was killed by the Egyptians. And then when the Egyptians killed him, man, that was our last hope. And it was nothing. It was nothing. It was nothing to and nobody to save us. That's Necho. He was set up. His land and kings was set up by the Assyrians. They got his statue in New York, just like they got this obelisk that we was enslaved with when the Nubians come on to power in from Upper Egypt, took over Lower Egypt and enslaved us after Joseph passed away. They erected this obelisk. They got it in New York. You know what I'm saying? And it was in Heliopolis, on where we was, and then the Nubians took over, and then they conquered us, and then they put that obelisk up. It's in New York, as well as the statue of Nietzsche that killed King Josiah and put us back on the Egyptian religion. He put us back on the Egyptian religion and tricked the whole Israelite army into Africa to be enslaved, which would be our punishment in the conditions that we are in right now today. Now, they ain't going to tell you this because they don't want Almighty Yah army men to rise. But I'm going to show you what Almighty Yah say mean about his army. All right? All right, so then, so, you know what I'm saying? But we know we going to Africa. Look. And it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking to all the people, all the words of the Elohim their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words, then spake Azariah the son of Hoshea, and Johan the son of Ker, and all the proud men, saying unto Jeremiah, Thou speakest falsely. The Elohim our Yah had not sent thee to say, Go not into Egypt to sojourn there, but Baruch the son of Ner set thee on edge against us for to deliver us into the hand of the Chaldeans, that they might put us to death and carry us away captive to Babylon. So Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces, the whole Israelite army, and all the people obeyed not the voice of the Elohim to dwell in the land of Judah. But Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces took all the remain of Judah that were returned from all nations, whether they had been driven. See, even during the Syrian times were coming back to dwell in the land of Judah. Even men, women, and children, and the king's daughters. So everybody took off. So they came into the land of Egypt, for they obeyed not the voice of the Elohim their Yah. Came they even to Tapanhes. That's gonna be where the Satai kings was set up at. You know what I'm saying? Look, this what we said after we got into Egypt. Then all the men, this is Jeremiah 44, verse 15. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burnt incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt, and Pathros answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her. That's that heifer the cow. Pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals and were well and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have been consumed by the sword and by famine. That's messed up. That's what we said. But, they tricked us, the Egyptians. We had been fooling with the Egyptians for a long time. But if you go to Jeremiah 41, so we know Almighty Yah army was tricked into Africa. We was tricked into Africa. But this is what Almighty Yah said. So we know if the army got tricked into Africa and never come back out, that Almighty Yah army is here in captivity. So our enemies ain't gonna want us to know that we the Israelite army. Because if we the Israelite army and we come together, then that's the end of them. That's the end of the abominations and the things that Almighty Yah was against from the beginning. And how that they don't want that to stop, because that's where their power come from. Look, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Elohim of hosts is his name. Though thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. Now what can destroy nations and kingdoms is that the peoples who control all these European nations been accepted as Israelites and got their kings and their prince heritage off that. is coming to an end, and how that's going to shatter the nations. Just like I'm able to destroy the religions. I'm able to destroy the religions, as I explained how Muhammad, Islam built this religion off the Sephardims, the Sephardists, and the Sephardists got their heritage from us Israelites, and how they took the covenant history and turned it into what they wanted to be, and how Ashkenazi created the Catholic Church in the Discopolis, and how the Discopolis was its slick headquarters. You know, look, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Elohim of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. Now the covenant was broken, and we was driven off the land when prophet Jeremiah said this. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee will I break in pieces men and women, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen. With thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. So this truth about us Israelites being Almighty Yah army, and how we done fulfilled the curses, and how the Israelite brotherhood history none opened the doors to all the Israelites, man, to come in with some correct history, and how that the Israelite brotherhood, man, then basically then defeated the whole enemies, and then wrapped the whole history up, and how that is done just like the scriptures say. All it takes is for the rest of the Israelite army to wake up and understand what I'm saying. Look, with thee will I also break in pieces men and women, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid, and will I break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husband and his ark of yokeson. You know what I'm saying? So then, that's the whole economic system and everything. All our enemies that done did us wrong finna have to pay for long. All right. So then, if we go to Isaiah 41, let's see what Isaiah 41 got to say about this. Isaiah 41. Isaiah 41:15. I put that there for a reason. Isaiah 41:15. Alright. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. He talking about us. Fear not, thou warm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. I will help thee, said the Elohim, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. Thou shalt thrash the mountains and beat them small, and shalt make the hills as shaft. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. And thou shalt rejoice in the Elohim. Thou shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel. You know what I'm saying? So me, that's the way. That's why I say a demigod worship. The army of Yah must rise up, but not with demigod worship. You know, if you believe in the Jesus or YAH, you can't be in Yah army. You can't be in Yah army because Yah jealous. He ain't tell us to worship no God's sons. And then I got a video showing how that God's son is a turn of endurement. And I got a video showing how they took Prophet Isaiah history and try to turn it into demigod worship, by how I straighten it up. I straighten it up. You know what I'm saying? I straighten it up. All right. I mean, if we go to Micah, man, let's see, Micah, he was around the same time Prophet Isaiah was around. Micah 4, let's see what Micah 4 got to say. Man, I turn right to it. All praise be Almighty God. I turn right to it. 11 and 13. Now also many nations are gathered against thee that say, let us be defiled. No. Now also many nations are gathered against thee that say, let her be defiled, and let our eyes look upon Zion. But they know not the thoughts of the Elohim, neither understand thou his counsel, for he shall gather them as the shells into the flour. Arise and thrash, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thee an horn iron, and I will make thy hooves brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto the Elohim, and their substance unto the Elohim of the whole earth. Now this true. Now this is so true, because look, if all the nations been thinking that them folks that's been claiming our heritage are Israelites, and the whole Western culture is based upon that, then it's over with for what they call Western culture when we Israelites wake up to that we the Israelites. And then if Almighty Yah say that, our hooves gonna turn into some iron, then that's gonna be us in captivity, defenseless, and how we gonna get some power. How we gonna get some power, and our enemies know this. That's why they better come on and work through the Israelite Brotherhood, and so the Israelite Brotherhood can guide us through this. You know what I'm saying? And everybody get their just share and what's right. But you see what Micah said. Now let's go to Isaiah 8:9. Let's see what he say. Now, Almighty Yah army been prophesied to come back. You know what I'm saying? As I'm reading. And we are Almighty Yah army, as I showed that the army ran into Africa and was enslaved. You go to Isaiah 8 verse 9. Let's see what that say. 8 verse 9. Associate yourselves, O ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Give ear, all ye of far countries, and gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for Yah is with us. You know what I'm saying? For the Yah, for the Elohim spake this to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people. So you see, man, can't nothing stop us from coming back being the Israelite nation and people we was prophesied to be. Now, we've been Almighty Yah army since Exodus. If you go to Exodus, let's see what this say. Exodus 7:6. So Almighty Yah army got to wake up, and we can't wake up believing in no Jesus. We can't worship Almighty Yah, but we can't be Almighty Yah army believing in Jesus. That's why our enemies don't want us to come in the covenant. Let's see what's said before. Look. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth my armies and my armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by a great judgment. See, we've been Almighty Yah army from the beginning, because it was Almighty Yah army was supposed to destroy the Canaanite Egyptian culture. Let's see, 8:26. 8:26. 8:26. So we know we're Almighty Yah army. And Moses said, it is not me so to do, for I shall sacrifice. Nah, that is not it. 8:26. That's 8:26. Well, anyway, we're Almighty Yah army, and there ain't no question about that. And we're going to come back into being the army that Almighty Yah wants us to be, because it's prophesied. It's prophesied that it's going to happen. All right, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. The Israelite army will rise, but we can't rise believing in no demigods, no God's sons, and all of those stuff that our enemies gave us on the plantation after they done put layers and layers of misidentification on us. All right, Hebrews. Shalom. I pray everybody doing well and that the Israelite Brotherhood family is doing well.